to book. As my other senator said, Madam Speaker, the issue of edible oil, it has been a big issue. Kenyans talked, Kenyans complained. The people who imported that oil are known. That oil was eventually actually declared that it is poisonous too. But what happened? They've never been brought to book to date. Not that this house did not speak, not that this house has not tried to even bring to book the people who imported that oil, but what happened? As usual, we got silent. So it is us Kenyans who are killing our country. Madam Speaker, I sit in a committee where we look at cohesion in this country. Madam Speaker, it is sad. As much as I want to agree, most of these things are historical. But what I want to tell our president today, Mr. President, you can be the person to bring change in this country. If you keenly look at what is happening, why these Gen Zs are complaining, they cannot get jobs. People are still getting employed from very few communities. In fact, to be precise, 2 communities only in this republic. Mr. President, you can be the person to bring change. If
Kithure Kindiki, that is the CS nominee for Interior, will be the first nominee that will be vetted at 8 a.m. in the morning. It will be followed by Honorable Alice Wahome, who is a former and this, let's keep on it.
Mheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu. Takusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Twakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote tutakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao wamezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Sergeant, ring the quorum bell.
And having not achieved a quorum, a requisite number required for today's session, the afternoon session of today's sitting, the bell has been rung to allow members of Parliament to walk on to the National Assembly proceedings of this afternoon. And while still on the vetting that is expected to begin on Thursday, that is the vetting for the nominees for...
Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. The following statutory instruments and the accompanying explanatory memorandum, regulatory impact assessment, and report on stakeholders' engagement for the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Development. 1. Legal notice number 99 of 2024 relating to the pest control products, labeling, advertising, and packaging regulations 2024. 2. Legal notice number 100 of 2024 relating to the pest control products, inspection, and certification regulations 2024. 3. Legal notice number 101 of 2024 relating to the pest control products, importation and exportation regulations 2024. 4. Legal notice number 102 of 2024 relating to the pest control products, fees and other charges regulations 2024. And finally, legal notice number 103 of 2024 relating to the pest control products disposal regulations 2024. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to lay.
Owen, Chairperson, Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Wangwe. Yes, Ruku. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I made a request for statement several months ago on pest.
We have not reached statements. We are on papers. We are at order number 5. Statements are at order number 7. Go on, Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have 2 papers to lay. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 30th July, 2024. The 3rd report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture on its consideration of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the following state corporations. 1. Kenyatta National Hospital, financial year 2018-2019 and 2019-2020. 2. Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, financial year 2017-2018 and 2018-2019. 3. Kenya Veterinary Board, financial year 2018-2019, 2019-2022, and 2020-2021. Honorable number 4, National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, financial years 2017-18, 2018-19, 2019-20, and 2020-2021. 5, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, financial years 2000 to 2001, 2001-2002, 2002-2003, 2003-2004, 2004-2005, 2005-2006, 2006-2007, 2007-2008, 2008-2009, 2009-2010, 2010-2011, 2011-2012, and 2012-2013. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the second paper, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 30th July, 2024. The report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services and Administration and Agriculture on its consideration of the performance audit report by the Auditor General on the provision of services to persons with disabilities by the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Wangwe. Chairperson, Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity, Yusuf.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 30th July 2024. Reports of Select Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity. Number 1, ID 4 African Annual General Meeting held from 21st May to 24th May 2024 in Cape Town, South Africa. Number 2, Peace Mediation Conference held in Bologna, Italy from 13th to 23rd of May 2024. 3, inspection visit to 14 special need schools in specified counties as shown. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation. KJ?
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, 30th July 2024. And Mr. Speaker, this is the report of the Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation on its consideration of the Kenya Technopolis Bill. Honorable Chair, I do beg to table this.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Wangwe, Chairperson, Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the third report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the following state corporations laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. 1. Kenyatta National Hospital, financial year 2018-2019 and 2019-2020. 2. Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, financial years 2017-2018 and 2018-2019. 3. Kenya Veterinary Board, financial year 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021. 4. National Authority for the Campaigns Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, financial years 2017-18, 2018-19, 2019-20, and 2020-2021. And 5. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, financial years 2000-2001, 2001-2002, 2002-2003, 2003-2004, 2004-2005, 2005-2006, 2006-2007, 2007-2008, 2008-2009, 2009-2010, 2010-2011, 2011-2012, and 2012-2013. The second motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture on its consideration of the performance audit report by the Auditor General on the provision of services to persons with disabilities by the National Council for Persons with Disabilities laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairperson, Select Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity. Haji.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the House adopts the report of the Select Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity on inspection visit of 14 special schools in specified counties laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Fine. Yes, how are you? We don't have any questions. Yes, honorable members, we have a request for statements. Ms. Honorable Mark Mwenje, member for Embakasi West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is a request for a statement regarding the shooting of a student in Kariobangi South Ward. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the shooting of a student at Nairobi River Primary School in Kariobangi South Ward. Honorable Speaker, on 23rd May 2024, during the demolition of structures built along riparian land in Kariobangi South Ward, Mr. Elvis Mohia, a 14-year-old student at Nairobi River Primary, was hit by a bullet after a police officer shot at the surrounding crowd. The minor was rushed to Huruma Nursing Hospital and later referred to Kenyatta National Hospital, where he underwent surgery. The mother to the minor reported the case on 27th May 2024 at Kariobangi Police Station and was first assigned an OB number 56/23/05/2024 and later assigned OB number 37/29/05/2024 on 29th May 2024. The minor is yet to be discharged due to the pending hospital bills incurred as the mother is unable to offset the outstanding bill. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. Explain the circumstances against which the minor, who was not involved in the exercise, was shot by a police officer during the demolition of houses in Kariobangi South on 23rd May 2024. Provide a report on the status of investigations into the shooting, including action taken against the police officer liable, and give a status report on measures the government has put in place to offset the hospital bills for the young man owing to the injuries sustained to ensure adequate compensation for the lost school time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if I may have the attention of the Speaker.
Yes, Mwenje?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to draw your attention further to this statement.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, this child, the mother, and they live in a slum which is known as City Carton, is being charged 388,000. These are people who live in a house that is rented at 2,500. The child is still being detained, cannot attend school, and therefore it's a matter, Honorable Speaker, I would request that the Chair Internal Security responds to this matter within 48 hours at the very least. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Tongoyo. Are you able to respond on Thursday afternoon?
I will, sir.
Yes. Thursday afternoon.
That's a week.
Mwenje? This Thursday.
Okay, give me to do it on Tuesday, sir. Mr.
Tuesday?
Speaker. Yeah.
Okay, Mark, you can wait for Tuesday. That's a week. Honorable Doris Donya, member for Kisii County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to request for a statement regarding theft and vandalism of Kenya Electricity Transmission Company infrastructure in Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 42C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Energy regarding the increased theft and vandalism of Kenya Electricity Transmission Company KETRACO infrastructure in the country, particularly in Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, on the morning of Tuesday, 7th May 2024, the entire Kisii County was plunged into a power outage after a suspected gang attacked the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, KETRACO, in Kegati sub-county and vandalized key power equipments. This attack caused losses of lives due to the disruption of the operation of critical life support equipment in hospitals, as well as loss of business opportunities that are dependent on electricity supply. Honorable Speaker, cases of theft and vandalism of power transmission equipment are not new in Kisii County and indeed in the other parts of the country. Sadly, KETRACO seems to be doing little to avert this rampant menace. It is unfortunate to note that KETRACO has been doing little to avert on the fateful day of the theft and vandalism of power transmission equipment at the Kegati substation. The CCTV cameras were not in place, thereby making it difficult to identify and track the perpetrators of the destructive acts. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Energy to appraise the House on the following. 1, the strategies that the ministry intends to implement to track down and prosecute all KETRACO infrastructure vandals. 2, the action plans the ministry has put in place to ensure proper security measures for the expensive KETRACO equipment that has cost a lot of taxpayers' money. And lastly, the support mechanisms that the ministry is instituting to aid businesses, hospitals, and citizens whose daily operations are negatively affected by the power outages. Mr. Speaker, for the power outages, for example, the diabetic patients who use insulin and they don't have power. That is the great injustices, Mr. Speaker, to the patients. Thank you very much.
Chair Energy. Who's the Chair Energy? Is Kawaya? Is he in the House? Any member from the Energy Committee? Mandazi?
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Indeed, we have, as a committee, sat and considered the case, and especially the case from Kisii.
Bring a statement in 2 weeks.
Yes, in 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mashua Waithaka, member for Kiambu.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Energy regarding the rampant vandalization of Kenya Power Company, KPLC, transformers in Kiambu constituency and other parts of the country. Honorable Speaker, electricity is crucial to modern economic activities and is an essential input to many public services. Unfortunately, over the past 3 years, Kiambu constituency and other towns across the country have been grappling with frequent power outages due to an increase in vandalism of Kenya Power and Lightning transformers. For areas such as ACK Riabai Church, Latina Town, and Riabai Shopping Center in Riabai Ward, Kiambu High School area, Kagongo and Tinganga wards in Kiambu constituency have been severely affected by vandals. This has resulted in frequent power outages, occasioning suffering through disruption of daily activities, loss of perishable goods, and compromised security due to non-functional streetlights and alarm systems. Additionally, local businesses, especially in the hospitality sector, suffer significant financial losses due to these outages. Further, essential services such as healthcare facilities and schools have been affected, compromising the standards of health and living. Honorable Speaker, it's against this backdrop that I request a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Energy on 1, the status of investigations, if any, into the rampant vandalism of Kenya Power and Lightning transformers in the country in general, and in Kiambu constituency in particular. 2, any plans that the government has to protect Kenya Power transformers from vandalism. And 3, measures being taken to mitigate the impact of power outages.
Yes, Speaker. I'm not the only member. 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker.
But you should note that those 2 statements are all about vandals against power installations in the country.
Yes, Mr.
So
Speaker.
you better bring a comprehensive statement to assure the House and the country that power installations that are critical to every sector of the economy and our lives are safe. Did you listen to what Waithaka said?
Yes, I've listened. Together, I've heard the statement from Honorable from KC.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable members, on last Tuesday, I gave you a communication following complaints by several members, and I indicated that Honorable Koimburi of Juja had called the Speaker and indicated his absence that day. He was going to Mombasa. Honorable Koimburi has seen me this afternoon. He is available in the House now, and I'll now give him an opportunity to speak to his issue that led to, among others, Honorable Munyoro, Honorable Lelmengit, Honorable Kagiri, Honorable Mutunga, Honorable Didmas Baraza, and others writing to the Speaker, and those who have also come to the Speaker's chamber to raise verbal complaints. Honorable Koimburi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise just to apologize to my colleagues and members of this House. As you read my letter last week on Tuesday, I did not indicate why I am apologizing, but I'm here to indicate that, or to say this. I was in church and I make a mistake by saying that the members of parliament that voted yes, they were bribed with the 2 million. Honorable Speaker, I'm here to say sorry to the members because I don't have any evidence that they received money. Honorable Speaker, those was just a hearsay that I heard when we was voting during the second reading of finance bill. I urge the members to forgive me, and then we move forward for the betterment of this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Koimburi. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to help Honorable Koimburi to learn how to seek forgiveness. Before you seek forgiveness, you must confess the lie first. So you must confirm first that you lied, that you are dishonest, you lied in church, you lied to the people of Kenya, and put us to great shame. Then after that, after you have confessed, then you can ask for forgiveness. But before that, you cannot just ask for forgiveness.
Yes, order. Honorable Wamumbi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Order, Rosa.
Mr. Speaker, some of us lost properties because Honorable Koimburi lied that we received 2 million so that we could vote for the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking one question. Is Honorable Koimburi ready to go back to the same church and apologize from the same church that he lied? Mr. Speaker, we must speak the truth and tell each other the truth. Is Honorable Koimburi ready to go to the same church and admit on the same pulpit that he lied and he incriminated these members of parliament, Mr. Speaker? Thank you.
Honorable Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, Honorable Koimburi is sincere, even with his apology. He is sincere, even the way the letter is worded. Mr. Speaker, we have lost faith with people of the Republic of Kenya because of the lie of Honorable Koimburi. And I think we should not even call him honorable, because he has proved he is not honorable. If he can be able to lie in front of the church that members who voted yes received 2 million on his feet in front of clergy, then I think, Honorable Speaker, we need to prescribe a very harsh punishment of Honorable Koimburi. And before we do that, we need to do exactly what Honorable Deputy Speaker has said, to prescribe his apology in clear terms so that we can decide whether we are going to forgive him or not. Mr. Speaker, otherwise, as a member who voted yes, I am not ready to forgive Honorable Koimburi for lying. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Wangari.
Thank you.
Order.
Thank you.
Order, honorable members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, the apology is tendered to the people who voted yes in this House. And what we have suffered, Mr. Speaker, cannot even be quantified in a single letter, Mr. Speaker. Many members have been harassed for no reason. And Mr. Speaker, one thing that Honorable Koimburi, and I'm very sad because I knew the father. The father is from my constituency. He was a very honest man. I don't know who became of this Honorable Koimburi, Mr. Speaker, because he lied through the teeth in the pulpit, and with no shame. Mr. Speaker, what we need, even as we go to forgive Honorable Koimburi, we must set a precedent in this House, Mr. Speaker, that you cannot just say things outside there, incriminating members of parliament, incriminating the whole House, Mr. Speaker, and get away with it, Mr. Speaker. We must have him pay damages, but more importantly, we must have him taken action against by the Speaker, Powers and Privileges Committee, Mr. Speaker. There must be clear so that next time, any member who would like to drag the names of members under the bus to look good, Mr. Speaker, then they will think twice. And Mr. Speaker, one thing Honorable Koimburi must realize, he may have been doing this to look good. By the way, the whole House, one is rotten, all of us will be rotten, including him, Mr. Speaker. So I hope that this will be a lesson, and the precedent that will be set from your desk, Mr. Speaker, will discourage others from going the route that Honorable Koimburi has gone. It is a shame, and he should be ashamed of himself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Owen Bayer.
Honorable Speaker, you know, Honorable Speaker, I come from a priestly lineage. And the Bible is very clear that forgiveness is divine. Now, if the forgiveness is divine, upon seeking for it, we are obliged that we forgive. And Honorable Speaker, in Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, he says that sometimes punishment may not be the execution of the crime, but more importantly, it is that the person, I'm sure, Honorable Koimburi, within the time that he has lived with his guilty, he has atoned his sins. And because he has atoned his sin, and that forgiveness is divine, I personally forgive him and request this House to forgive him. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Wamboka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, it is regrettable what has been going around, but I also want to congratulate the Honorable Member for being a gentleman and apologizing. We have more important business to work on. And just to my brother like Ruku, there are more atrocities that have been committed in this House, including taking people's signatures, and we don't know where you took them. That was more serious. So, Honorable Speaker, yes, The honorable member made a mistake. He has owned up the
Wamboka,
mistake and apologized.
Wamboka,
Thank you, honorable member.
two wrongs don't make a right.
Forgive him and proceed, honorable speaker. We have more important business for this house. Kenyans are watching at us. Mr. Speaker, let's rest this matter. Asante sana, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the standing orders of this House does not describe what an apology should look like in this House. The honorable member has actually apologized. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter if he got the figures wrong or if he got the facts wrong, but he's apologized. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I think the onus is on us to forgive him as a House. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me begin first by appreciating what has been said by other members about forgiveness and commend the Honorable Koimburi, because we are all men and women. And I say men in the parlance of the Bible, men and women. And we are honorable men and women. And we ought to carry, Honorable Speaker, I beg you protect me from the Honorable Betty. I say, Honorable Speaker, that we are seen and viewed to be honorable men and women. And it is perceived, or it should be, that we are among the very best in our society because our people elected us as among the best of the people in their constituencies. And I'm sure even the people of Juja elected the Honorable Koimburi, believing he was one of the best among us, the people of Juja. And therefore, he has been very magnanimous to apologize. And the book of 1 John 1:9. The good book tells us that if we confess our sins, he, meaning God, is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. I think, Honorable Speaker, I have listened to what members across the aisle have said, that if you seek forgiveness, you shall be forgiven. And I must commend the Honorable Koimburi for seeking forgiveness for his unrighteous ways of things he said about members that were not there. But the book also tells us, if you confess. And when I listened to Honorable Koimburi, I heard him say that he said things that he now knows are untrue, and he knew they were untrue even at the time he said. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the fact that the Bible tells us if we confess, we shall be forgiven by the Almighty God. And we are all followers of Christ and followers of the Almighty God, Allah, even for those of us who are from the Muslim Islamic faith. Honorable Speaker, if you can forgive me from these ones who are saying we are not God. Of course, I know we are not God. But we all believe in God. And I want to believe in this House, Honorable Speaker, we are men and women of great faith. Men and women who are Christians and others who are very good Muslims, who believe in the Almighty God. And therefore, being followers of Christ like myself, I have absolutely no problem as a person in forgiving the Honorable Koimburi for his inequities. However, to protect the institution of Parliament, Honorable Speaker, to protect the dignity of this House, to protect the dignity of innocent members of Parliament who are seen as sellouts for either 2 million shillings or 2,000 shillings or whatever the amount was, Honorable Speaker, then I would beg that we handle this matter with a little bit more care, so that tomorrow I do not stand up and accuse a member of parliament who votes this way or the other of having received bribes, knowing what I am saying is untrue. More worrying, Honorable Speaker, and I would urge you, Honorable Speaker, to ask the Honorable Koimburi to stand in his place. Because if you seek forgiveness, please do so with clean hands. When the Honorable Koimburi wrote that letter last week, Honorable Speaker, that letter was delivered to your office in the evening. A copy was delivered to my office, and a copy, I think, to the leader of minority, because they were copied. And I would have wanted to hear the Honorable Koimburi confirm if indeed what he says, he was the author of this letter. This letter was delivered by a staff member in his office, whom he knows, and I don't want to name him because he's not here, but the Honorable Koimburi knows his staff member who delivered that letter. The letter was stamped in my office. Unfortunately, the person who stamped it received, put one stamp upside down on the copy that he came with, that he was to return with. And he asked that it be stamped properly, facing up, and it was stamped. That is the letter that circulated on social media last week. The Honorable George Koimburi, on his social media platform, specifically on his Facebook page, stamped the same letter fake and said it is fake news. I would therefore have been more convinced to believe in the seeking of forgiveness by Honorable Koimburi if he also came out clearly to tell the people of Kenya whether the dishonesty exhibited on his Facebook page is not the same dishonesty he now seeks to exhibit on the floor of this House, pretending to seek forgiveness that he does not mean. But if the Honorable Koimburi can confirm to me and to this House that even his actions on Facebook page that day were informed by other factors other than the truth, Honorable Speaker, and confirm he was the author of this letter, then I am more than willing myself to forgive the Honorable Koimburi. Failure to do that, Honorable Speaker, and that's why I say there must be a balance between our faith and the dignity and honor and respect of this House, Honorable Speaker. Failure to do that, then I would strongly recommend, because Honorable Koimburi cannot be in a church and allege one thing, come and draft a letter seeking forgiveness, then the same evening post on social media that the letter is fake. A week after, appear on the floor of this House now saying a different thing. Which George Koimburi do we believe? Which George Koimburi are we seeing here? Which George Koimburi is here? Is it the George Koimburi who lies in church? Is it the George Koimburi who stamps letters fake on social media? Or is it the meek-looking George Koimburi who is seated here now seeking forgiveness? If this George Koimburi seated here seeking forgiveness, Honorable Speaker, is the same Koimburi, I forgive him. If the George Koimburi of lying in church and later denying and reasserting the lie, then I will not forgive that George Koimburi. But the George Koimburi who is here, if he wants to be honorable, if he wants to dignify this House, he must come out clean, confess, one, to the lie he said in church, confess to the lie he sold on social media. If he comes out clean, I am more than willing to forgive the Honorable George Koimburi and ask the Almighty God to also forgive him for having lied in church. And the Honorable George Koimburi is my very good friend, Honorable Speaker. In fact, the Honorable George Koimburi, in his first election as a member of parliament, he will tell you, he had serious problems when he was seeking election first as a member of parliament. The Honorable George Koimburi was elected never having set foot in a single political rally in Juja constituency. He campaigned when he was in hiding. And he knows the only place he could come to while he was in hiding was to my house for me to facilitate him to be able to facilitate his campaign. And these are facts of life, Honorable Speaker. And the Honorable Koimburi knows. I have invited him to my house, facilitated his campaign. And that is why, as a friend, I choose to forgive him if he confesses the dishonesty. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I will ask, before you conclude, the Honorable George Koimburi to rise in his place and clarify the matter of the letters, because that is pertinent for me and for many members to know whether indeed is genuine in the seeking of forgiveness. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order Rosa Buyu. Order Rosa Buyu. Order Rosa Buyu. You are being disorderly. Then go out without causing disorder. Wamrata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to address this issue of Koimburi. Having come from the same county with him and being his mama county, I understand the situation that Koimburi put us in. And I see as members continuing shouting at one another at this point, I'm trying to ask myself whether all of us got to know the magnitude of destruction that statement made to this country. And it is about all of us. All of us. Yes, and somebody is calling me Bibia Bishop, and you know, yes, and somebody is calling me Bibia Bishop, and you knowing that I'm a wife of a clergy, and having sat here to take 2 million shillings to go and sell my county, that to me meant that I am not only a rogue, but I am also not respecting my Christian faith. But all said and done, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say this. I may not know about other communities, but I can confess that for a Kikuyu man, it is never easy to say sorry. So I'm imagining Koimburi must have tried to work out to come and say sorry. But again, he is playing us a game. Because Koimburi has apologized and apologized very clearly, and we feel good. But the same Koimburi has put the same letter in his social media and said it is a fake letter. So again, he puts us in another mess because we will appear like we forced him to come and say it was a lie. So maybe, Mr. Speaker, you'd give us a direction on what this means to us, because I think part of what fueled what happened here on the 25th was that statement. We are trying to downplay the statement, but that would have meant the end of all of us, including our children. And as I am seeing some people there shouting, I want to make one request, that maybe Koimburi, people may not buy our story because they already believe we were given the 2 million. But then he needs to put a proper apology to the people of Kenya. They may not buy the story, but at least he would have spoken about it. But for me, as his mama county, I had said I will never forgive him in heaven and on earth. But today, on this floor of the House, I am choosing to forgive him, but on condition that he again puts again on his social media that whatever he said was a lie. And yes, and go to the same church which is also in Kiambu County, where I represent, and stand there, na yeye ni member wa hiyo church, and be prayed for. Na hiyo kanisa yao believes in mafuta, aende amwagiliwe mpaka mafuta ya confession, so that we forgive him.
Yes, Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, immediately we had an issue here on 25th. That Sunday, Honorable Speaker, I tried to attend some church, a men's conference in Ruiru constituency, Honorable Speaker. And immediately I entered that church that I do not worship in. People started singing as I walked, towards my sitting position, 2 million, 2 million, 2 million. I am not an MP elected to represent the people of Ruiru constituency. And I was left wondering, Honorable Speaker, if this is what I am facing, a person elected in constituency that is about 500 kilometers from the place I attended church, Honorable Speaker, I couldn't help but sympathize with the situation of the member of parliament for Ruiru, Honorable Speaker. This is what these members are talking about. The member seated on the opposite side of this House, Honorable Speaker, may not be aware of what these members seated this side went through, Honorable Speaker. It is extremely difficult to simply just say, by a mere expression or attendance of this honorable member in the floor of the House and just saying, please forgive me, to them it sounds so easy that just forgive. But what, Honorable Speaker, we are asking is that the member of parliament goes an extra mile. And to some of us, Honorable Speaker, that really campaigned for him. There's some of us who went out there when he went there when he was vying in the first term. And when he did not even know us by name, Honorable Speaker, during the by-elections, and people contributed. Then even after that, Honorable Speaker, after he won in his second term, he came to my office when he had a petition. And we actually won in his petition. He was awarded the costs. He did not even forgive the petitioner that was running against him. He's actually telling me that you must attach his property. He's here telling us that we forgive him when we've lost 1 million property, Honorable Speaker, across the country. The honorable member from Nyeri, the honorable from one of the Kieni, the honorable Chieni, Honorable Speaker, lost 3 supermarkets. 3 supermarkets. I mean, worth 5 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker. And any time he was actually walking around, 5 million, I'm sorry, 500 million. 5 billion plus the house, Honorable Speaker. And people were singing to his house saying, you have 2 million. In the minds of the people in the villages, Honorable Speaker, they think 2 million is a huge amount that can build supermarkets, that can stock the entire supermarket. And Honorable Koimburi did not even stop at that, Honorable Speaker. He went ahead in another function in the company of another top government official of this country and repeated the same words, Honorable Speaker, in another function, Honorable Speaker. So we do not know what apology was he seeking for. Was it for the first mistake of saying a lie, or the second mistake of repeating the lie, and the third mistake of writing on social media and in his own letter that he served in your office and the majority leader, and still posted it on social media and said fake? So which apology should we take? Is it the first, second, or third apology, Honorable Speaker? And as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I believe this House has got rules and regulations and the procedures to follow. My opinion, Honorable Speaker, could be that the Honorable Koimburi be subjected to the Powers and Privileges Committee so that he can explain himself if he can't do it in the entire floor of the House. And he can have, his issues heard, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, I want to bring this to an end. Honorable Koimburi, did you label the letter that you sent to my office and I read to this House as fake before I give direction? Order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The letter that Majority Leader is talking about, the account that was posted that letter, it's not my account. That was a fake account. In my Facebook, you can check. There is 2 accounts, Honorable George Koimburi account and Honorable George Koimburi Juja 1. The Juja 1 is a fake account. My account is George Koimburi. You can check even in your phone. You can open it. The letter was posted in a fake account. I stand to say, I stand, Honorable Speaker, I stand to ask my honorable members of this House to forgive me. Forgive me. I will never repeat it again, honorable members. Just forgive me, because I had hearsay. Prevent me, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable
please.
members. Order. Thank you, Koimburi. Take your seat. Order. Order. Honorable Koimburi, finish.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I said before, Honorable Speaker, there was a hearsay that honorable members who voted yes in a second reading were bribed with the 2 million. Honorable Speaker, I'm here to apologize to our honorable members. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. Order. Wamaua, take your cool. Honorable members, I know, order, honorable members, order. Ngeno Ngong, take your seat. Take your seats. Order, honorable member, take your seat. Honorable members, the Honorable George Koimburi has come to this house and talked to you as colleagues. He came to the Speaker's chamber, and I called the clerk to join me, and he said many of the things he has said here. He said he went to church. He was overwhelmed by the presence of a hostile crowd. And he said what he said. Order, honorable members, order, members. The Holy Book, the Bible says, the beginning of healing lies in the acknowledgement of wrongdoing, which he has acknowledged. It also says, the greatest word in human relationship is the small word, sorry, which he has said. Father, Honorable Betty, if you read your scriptures in Romans 12, verse 21, it says, don't let evil get the best of you, but conquer evil by doing good. I'm a man of great faith, and I believe that wherever you are wronged and whoever wrongs you realizes that they are wrong and says sorry, it's up to you to forgive. And I want to urge you, Honorable Koimburi, and any of you who will veer off the beaten track and get overrode either by the presence of a crowd, hostile or otherwise. You are all collective agents of the image of this house, of the image of all of you. When one of you is besmirched, all of us are besmirched. When one of us is maligned, all of us are maligned. And when one of us says something that is blatantly incorrect and false, it hurts the whole house. That the Honorable Koimburi has had the courage and the humility to say that he went to church, stood before the church, said something that he knew was not true, and he has come to you to say, my brothers and sisters, let it be in your hearts to forgive me. I urge you to forgive him. And like I've always said, in an event like this, let the chips lie where they fell, and we look to the future. Honorable Koimburi, you are collectively and in future, weigh your words carefully, know what to say, where to say, and to whom to say. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Reduction of publication period of a specified bill.
Majority Leader. Oh, Chair of Budget, sorry. Chair of Budget.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 121C, that this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Supplementary Appropriations Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 39 of 2024 from 7 days to 5 days. Honorable Speaker, we are basically doing this because, as members understand, the government is almost in a near standoff, Honorable Speaker, or shutdown, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, we need to hasten the process of supplementary appropriations, Honorable Speaker, so that we can proceed into giving the National Treasury whatever they need, Honorable Speaker, so that the government can continue spending money in the various MDAs, including here in Parliament, the other arms of the executive, the county governments, Honorable Speaker, and also including CDF. And Honorable Speaker, what you are doing is just to hasten the process so that we can be able to draw monies from the consolidated fund for the furtherance of provision of service to the Kenyan people and also for development expenditure. Honorable Speaker, I wish to request the chair for JLAC, the Honorable Murugara, and the former managing partner of a very serious law firm, Dentons, to second these motions.
Yes, Murugara.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second this motion, a very important motion, as moved by the chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, the appropriations we are just about to make are crucial to the national government and to the county governments. It's vitally important that funds are provided so that the two governments can actually run and do their affairs. The same extends to this House when it comes to the second arm of government, the legislature, and also to the third government of the country, which is the judiciary. All these arms of government are waiting for funds, and therefore it is incumbent on this House to ensure that the appropriations are made and the country is able to move. I do beg to second.
Order, honorable members on their feet, take your seats. Order. Member for Pokot, take your seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 8, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 121C, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Supplemental Appropriation Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 39 of 2024, from 7 days to 5 days. I put the question. I now put the question at order number 8, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 121C, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Supplemental Appropriation Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 39 of 2024, from 7 days to 5 days. As members of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Supplementary Appropriation Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 39 of 2024. First reading. A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and their application towards the service of the year ending on the 30th June 2025, and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes.
Order. Order, honorable members, order. Yeah? Yes. Order. Order, Ruku. Order. Take your seats. Order. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Take your seats. Order. Order. Robert, take your seats. Eh? Take your seats. Order, honorable members. Order. Omulher. Omulher. Take your seat. Order, take your seats. Order. Order, honorable members, order. Order, Rosa, take your seats. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. 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 Order, members. Member for Malindi, take your seats. Order, members, take your seats. Honorable Ruku. Order, members. Order. Order, members, take your seats. Honorable Jalango. Order. 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 Take your seat. Take your seat. Honorable members, take your seats. Jalango, take your seat. Honorable Mwenje, you are the whips. You should be helping the House to be orderly. Order, Naisula, order. 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 Honorable members, order. Honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. I don't know if what I've been told is true, that the honorable ladies were going to embrace Honorable Koimburi. If it is true, it was honorable. But if anybody, order,
Order. Order. Order, honorable members, but I can also read the body language of members. The menacing manner in which I saw the honorable member for Garissa, is it for Mandera, Honorable Mulher, and my own commissioner, Faith Gitau, we have always operated under a false impression that the custodians of peace are our women. And now that becomes totally fallacious. And now that that drama is over, you have provided enough comic relief in the House. Now let's get back to business. Honorable Koimburi, you are absolutely safe and protected. You can go back to your seat if you are not comfortable where you are sitting. But the rules of the House say, order, order, order. Rosa Buyu, it is amazing how you are wailing louder than the bereaved. It's totally amazing how you are wailing louder than the bereaved. But let's go to the next order.
Order number 10, the Supplementary Appropriation number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2024, second reading.
Ndindi Nyoro.
Thank you very much. I hope we are together with members. Honorable Speaker, from our colleagues in this House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also I want to thank you and thank the clerk of the National Assembly for availing to us a very good working environment, Honorable Speaker, and especially the precincts of Parliament, where we discussed the entire process, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I had said when we were doing or debating the report, I also want to thank the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee and also our back office, Honorable Speaker, which is the Parliamentary Budget Office, Honorable Speaker, and especially we have been working very closely with officers like Abel, Julie, and Dan, Honorable Speaker, in the preparation of this appropriations bill. Honorable Speaker, why are we having this debate today? The reason why we are having this debate today, Honorable Speaker, number one, it is unprecedented. We have never had a supplementary budget being prepared before the main one is actually implemented. Honorable Speaker, therefore, this is the first time in the budget-making process in Kenya where we are having the supplementary estimates, Honorable Speaker, be considered barely a month after the passage of the main budget. And Honorable Speaker, this is premised on the fact we were preparing a budget. The budget had two sides. There was the revenue side, but also the expenditure side. I am lucky to be handling the expenditure side. The revenue side, as we know, is handled by the Finance Committee, led by my brother, Honorable Kimani Kuria. Honorable Speaker, we passed our side as the Budget Committee, which is the expenditure, in anticipation that we were to have the entire revenue-raising measures, Honorable Speaker, realized. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, or fortunately so, the Kenyan people requested that we look at other means, Honorable Speaker, insofar as the management of public finances is concerned. And out of that, Honorable Speaker, then, we had a hole in the budget. All the revenue-raising measures, as were anticipated by the Finance Bureau, Honorable Speaker, therefore was left as a void. And Honorable Speaker, we have done two things to fill up that void. There are only two areas that we could explore, Honorable Speaker. One, it is in terms of expanding our deficit by borrowing slightly more. And in that regard, Honorable Speaker, in this appropriations bill, we are requesting that we borrow an extra 170 billion Kenya shillings over and above what we had budgeted in the main budget, Honorable Speaker. Consequently, our deficit, therefore, for this financial year is in excess of 750 billion. But, Honorable Speaker, to allay those fears, whereas our deficit has moved from 3.83% of deficit to GDP ratio, the current one we are considering, Honorable Speaker, of 4.3% deficit to GDP ratio is still within our range as a country, Honorable Speaker, only that then, there before, we wanted to move out of the hole much faster because of our borrowing, and enlarging the deficit is not a very prudent manner of managing our economy. The other area, Honorable Speaker, we had to explore is the expenditure side. And consequently, therefore, over and above borrowing an extra 170 billion Kenya shillings, we have also cut expenditure to a tune of over 145 billion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker, of what we had anticipated, Honorable Speaker, to spend. But, Honorable Speaker, it is important as this House to know that some of the things we have been doing in this House have actually been bearing fruits. So that even as we consider the proposal before us, we must know that it is not haphazard. It is usually very considered, and the more the reason we have been seeing the output in our economy. And I say so because, Honorable Speaker, last year we were in the same process. What were the results? Our economy in 2023 grew by 5.6%. Honorable Speaker, our inflation has now been tamed completely to the recent figures of 4.6%. Honorable Speaker, also, our currency seems to respond to the policies that we have been making in this House, and especially insofar as budget is concerned, and that is why our currency against the greenback has been gaining now close to 20% this year alone, Honorable Speaker, and much more in comparison to the regional currencies. Honorable Speaker, what are the other areas of consideration when we were making this supplementary budget, Honorable Speaker? One, we know that it is just out of semantics that we are calling it supplementary one. But in practice, Honorable Speaker, what we are passing today is actually the main budget. And I say so because the main one was not implemented. What will get implemented is actually what is contained in here. And I see members are already reading it. Members are already consulting on the content in this bill, Honorable Speaker. What is the content here, Honorable Speaker? The budget we are considering is a budget of roughly 3.84 or thereabout trillion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker. 3.8 trillion, just to roughly approximate. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the revenue side, we have been able to downgrade our projections. And other than the 2.9 billion shillings we anticipated, Honorable Speaker, in the main budget, we will now be raising just above 2.6 trillion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, the A in this budget is just around 440 billion Kenya shillings. But also, Honorable Speaker, as I said before, the deficit is over 700 billion Kenya shillings. But what is on the expenditure side? On the expenditure side, Honorable Speaker, I just want to highlight a few elements. One, on the national government side, we have been able to take a hit, Honorable Speaker, of around 121 billion Kenya shillings. This is the downgrade, Honorable Speaker, in expenditure in regards to the executive, parliament, and judiciary. And Honorable Speaker, to lead that way, here in Parliament, Honorable Speaker, we voluntarily, Honorable Speaker, accepted a cut of Kenya shillings 3.7 billion, Honorable Speaker. And members of this House have told Kenyans very clearly that they are willing to travel less. They are willing to travel less domestically and also in terms of foreign. And Honorable Speaker, therefore, we have been able to rationalize those budgets in the National Assembly and in Parliament at large. Honorable Speaker, we have also been able to cut some ritual resources from the judiciary so that they also carry an equivalent burden. And I hope members are listening, Honorable Speaker. Because when it comes to travel, let me repeat, the budget for travel, both foreign and domestic, has been cut across the board. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the members of this House because they have said it very categorically that they don't want to travel as much as we have been traveling because they are very cognizant of the problems that we are dealing with as an economy. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, we cut Kenya shillings 3.7 billion from Parliament. Judiciary has lost, Executive has lost. But also, Honorable Speaker, the cuts have been horizontal and vertical. We have cut in all levels of government. Whereas the national government is losing 121 billion. Even our counties, Honorable Speaker, are losing 20 billion, Honorable Speaker, in equitable share. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, these are tough times, and I want to congratulate all leaders for allowing that we have a lesser budget in terms of size and everyone to take a haircut. Honorable Speaker, what are the other areas that have suffered? As we are aware, Honorable Speaker, when I was moving the main budget, there was an increment in CDF of 10 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank this House because members have accepted that, yes, we can postpone that dream, and therefore we live with the budget that we had the last financial year. Honorable Speaker, there was 14.5 billion Kenya shillings for rural electrification. I also want to thank the members of this House because they have already agreed that we postpone the electrification project, Honorable Speaker, where every constituency was to get 50 million Kenya shillings every constituency. Honorable Speaker, beyond that, road sector, of course, has been decimated. Road sector has lost some quite colossal amounts of money, Honorable Speaker, and many other sectors. But I also want to assure this House, ostentatious spending, Honorable Speaker, spending that is not core to service delivery, we have also cut across the board, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me not dwell too much on the cuts. Let me first go to the policy issues. There is something peculiar that we noted when we have been considering this supplementary budget. Honorable Speaker, one is that as we consider the supplementary estimates, barely a month after the passage of the main budget, we have seen a high appetite of MDAs requesting that we enhance their A&A. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, the conclusion that we have come to as the Budget Committee is that MDAs have been underestimating grossly their appropriations in aid. And Honorable Speaker, we have, in our report, recommended several things. We have seen very clearly that our country is very rich. And in that regard, two things have come up. One, Kenya as a government is overrepresented when it comes to organizations owned by government. Honorable Speaker, Kenya has got over 334 parastatos and sagas. Honorable Speaker, we have started the route of rationalizing this area, Honorable Speaker, and in this supplementary budget, Honorable Speaker, we have denied 47 of them money for operations and maintenance, Honorable Speaker, because they are either duplicating service, Honorable Speaker, or they have been overtaken by events. Honorable Speaker, as a country, this is a route you have to travel. We cannot continue having many bodies of government overlapping their services to the Kenyan people, Honorable Speaker, while we are still spending a lot of money in their recurrent expenditure. Honorable Speaker, 47 sagas, 47 government organizations have been owed up through this process, Honorable Speaker, by first denying them the budget as we, Honorable Speaker, decide what to do as a country with them. The second thing, Honorable Speaker, zooming in, and I want to request this discussion that we follow together as members. In a constituency like Suna West, in a constituency like North Hor, in a constituency like Baringo, Honorable Speaker, Baringo North, we have, for example, an engineer who represents the Kera routes on the ground. In the same constituency or region, we have a Kenha office and engineers already on the ground. In the same jurisdiction, we have Kura officers, Honorable Speaker, in the same ground. We have to ask ourselves very honest questions, Honorable Speaker. Do we need a Kera engineer, on top of that, a Kenha engineer, on top of that, a Kura engineer in Ronyeges, for example, Honorable Speaker? Can these roles be done by a singular office in the regions? Honorable Speaker, that will move us towards rationalizing the recurrent expenditure so that we can free up resources to go into development. In water sector, Honorable Speaker, we have over 20 bodies in the water sector alone. Waterworks, over 10. There are other national bodies, Honorable Speaker. We have to look inwards, Honorable Speaker, and be very categorical. Do we need, as a country, to have 20 bodies dealing with water, for example, whereas each of them is having like $500 million Kenya shillings in recurrent, Honorable Speaker, doing the same job? Honorable Speaker, this is a question that in the midterm, we have to ask and critically evaluate whether we need these bodies or we need to condense them and therefore free up resources to go into the service of the Kenyan people. Honorable Speaker, I also now want to highlight some of the areas we never touched in terms of cutting their budgets or rationalizing. Honorable Speaker, I want to laud the corrective wisdom of this House. And Honorable Speaker, I request that the members get this very clearly. Whereas we have been cutting the budget to fit into the shoe properly, Honorable Speaker, there are some areas we as a House have said no to their cuts because we think they are critical to the Kenyan people who we represent. One of them, Honorable Speaker, the monies that had been allocated for the confirmation of the JSS interns, 18.7 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, we did not approve any cut. The money is going appropriated so that we confirm our JSS interns, all the 46,000 of them, into permanent and pensionable terms. The second thing, Honorable Speaker, there are interns in our health sector. And Honorable Speaker, the interns in our health sector, we have also allocated Kenya shillings, 3.7 billion Kenya shillings, for them to be confirmed into permanent and pensionable terms because they deserve that, Honorable Speaker. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, our economy is agrarian. Our economy is agricultural based. This is not a very good story, Honorable Speaker, because in economics, one of the areas to measure whether an economy is growing is when an economy has less and less of agriculture in the composition of GDP. In fact, one of the definitions of economic development, Honorable Speaker, because there is economic growth, there is economic development. In economic growth, those are the jargons we term as GDP and the rest, and GNP and the rest. But in the economic development side, Honorable Speaker, we define the economy both quantitatively and qualitatively. And one of the qualitative measures of whether an economy is a developed economy, it is an economy that has less than 10% of agriculture in the composition of GDP. Fortunately or unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, in Kenya, agriculture still accounts for over 18% of our GDP. And agriculture here, I mean the primary part of our production, Honorable Speaker, which is agriculture, forestry, mining, and fisheries. Honorable Speaker, but that is where we are now, and we need to do something on it, because 70% of our rural population are engaged in agriculture. And in that respect, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated Kenya shillings 7.5 billion into fertilizer subsidy. And the fertilizer subsidy, Honorable Speaker, will be for food crops and cash crops, Honorable Speaker. Coffee farmers can access that fertilizer. Maize farmers can access that fertilizer. Cotton farmers can access that fertilizer. There is no discrimination in regards to the kind of crop that our farmers are growing. Honorable Speaker, the second thing in regards to agriculture, we have allocated Kenya shillings, 3 billion shillings, into the coffee cherry revolving fund, Honorable Speaker. That money will go into easing the cost of borrowing when it comes to coffee societies and also coffee farmers. The other thing in regards to coffee, Honorable Speaker, coffee farmers, the recently tabulated debts are around 8.6 billion Kenya shillings that coffee societies owe to the banks. Honorable Speaker, so that we can continue to help our farmers in these debt menace, we have allocated the first phase, Kenya shillings 2 billion, Honorable Speaker, into the payment of coffee debts so that our farmers, Honorable Speaker, can get reprieve when it comes to the debts, Honorable Speaker. In the sugar sector, we have allocated around 700 million to 1 billion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker. One, to enhance in terms of payments of arrears of farmers, but also number two, Honorable Speaker, to increase the sucrose level, to increase the technology in the sugar sector. And I want to laud Honorable Motonga, Honorable Speaker, who is the chair for agriculture, because he has actually looked inwards into AFA to get resources to support our sugar farmers because they also deserve more. One, in terms of payments, but also number two, in terms of technology, so that we can enhance the payments of sugar cane, not just in terms of weight, but also in terms of sucrose level, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the other thing we have done in the arena of agriculture is that we have allocated to new KCC Kenya shillings 1.5 billion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker, money that will go into defending the raw milk prices so that our farmers can get a net of 50 shillings per litre, Honorable Speaker, for raw milk so that dairy farming can continue to be a profitable venture for our farmers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have done much more in that arena. We have done much more in that arena, Honorable Speaker, because we believe agriculture is important for our economy. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to our security sector, the Maraga Task Force was given a mandate to go around the country, Honorable Speaker, to check how our security officers are living. But before I go to that, Honorable Speaker, before I go to that, let me just finish with agriculture first. I was to highlight one more critical issue. In the dairy sector, the Kenyan government has been having a program with the Polish government where the GOK was to raise 5% of the funds and the Poland government was to give us the remainder so that we purchase coolers for our farmers. Honorable Speaker, out of the changes in governance in Poland, this has become a very long process for us to access the other funds on the other side. What we have done as government, what we have done as this House of Parliament, Honorable Speaker, is to allocate Kenya shillings 2 billion for outright purchase of coolers, Honorable Speaker, to be given to our farmers so that, Honorable Speaker, dairy farming can continue to be mechanized and enhanced. Going back to security, and I want to thank Honorable Tongoyo because he's very passionate about the sector. The Maraga Task Force, Honorable Speaker, went around the country and they reported to us the obvious, the truth that you all know, that our police officers are not remunerated enough, that our police officers live in standards that are subhuman. And Honorable Speaker, for us to move to the direction of ameliorating the matter, Honorable Speaker, we have done an increment. This House has done an increment of 3.5 billion Kenya shillings to the National Police Service Commission for the increase of salaries to our police officers, Honorable Speaker, who are our brothers and sisters, because, Honorable Speaker, they don't have a union to talk for them, and therefore I want to laud this House and the government for fitting in there and adding salaries to our police officers because they deserve it, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I come to the conclusion, this bill has got many things, and those many things affect the people who have put us in the positions of service, Honorable Speaker. I request the members of this House, the kinds of solidarity we always have, the input you always give us as the Budget Committee, of enriching the process. I want to request you that it is always welcome because it shapes the way we allocate resources. I want to thank all the members, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank all the committees and especially the chairs of departmental committees because they have been able to assist us in working around the clock to deliver this document, Honorable Speaker, and in a timely manner. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I also, first of all, before I move, because I've seen many things in the media. I have seen issues around the education sector. The truth of the matter is that education sector is receiving the highest budget, is receiving the lion's share of our budget, Honorable Speaker. I have also seen issues around governance. Honorable Speaker, I request that members would go through the bill so that we can distinguish what we are seeing out there and what is the reality, because the reality is much better. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I also want to assure Kenyans.
Order, Ndindi. There's a point of information from GK. Do you want it?
Yes, GK is my neighbor. I can always benefit from him.
Go ahead, GK.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, the member for Keharo is my neighbor and my good friend. And I know he has mentioned something to do with the road agencies, Kera, Kura, Kenha, administration. And in public management, administration. And in public management, Honorable Speaker, we have what we call disaggregation of units. And in disaggregation of units, Honorable Speaker, that is where you reduce the scope, you reduce the size, so that you are able to deliver services the right way. If we ramp again those agencies, we'll be taking many steps backwards. So, Honorable Speaker, I beg to inform the member that having these agencies broken down into smaller units makes it much easier to deliver public goods and services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable GK, and I take note of that. It's just a discussion I'm putting into our minds, not in terms of abolishing the agencies, but whether we need all of them. But I agree with you, and it's a debate that we are fronting on the table so that we look for the best alternative for our country. Honorable Speaker, as I come to the conclusion, I also want to assure the members that the monies for equalization fund, the 8 billion shillings, is still intact, so that the Kenyan areas which have been left behind, Honorable Speaker, can also catch up when it comes to development, Honorable Speaker, because when all the sides of Kenya develop, then Kenya wholesomely develops, and Honorable Speaker, Kenya grows across all areas, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also want to allay the fears about the school feeding program. The Kenya shillings 3 billion for the school feeding program is still intact, and it will be managed by the infrastructure in the Ministry of Education. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, the school feeding program, I want to assure members, is still there in the budget, 3 billion shillings, and it is under the Ministry of Education because they have the right infrastructure to administer those resources. We have also allocated monies for the operational, to operationalize the funds created by the new SHIF, Honorable Speaker, all the 3 funds. We have input around 8 to 10 billion shillings so that these funds can be operational and serve in the purpose of deliver universal health coverage to all Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to move and request the very able Vice Chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Iron Lady, Madam Mary Amase, to second this motion.
Mary Amase, the Iron Lady. I didn't know that was your other name. Go on.
Thank you, Chair. I stand to second the supplementary appropriation bill, Bill number 2. Chair, from the onset, I want to say...
Which chair are you addressing?
Oh, Honorable Speaker, I'm sorry. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill, and honorable members, I think it's important that we listen because This appropriations bill is the one that details how the money has been allocated and how this money is going to be spent, and this is what guarantees continuous operation of government services. Honorable Speaker, our total expenditure has reduced slightly, and that we are able to reduce the expenditure by 145 billion, and also in the process, the deficit went up slightly because we are going to borrow an additional 170 billion. Honorable Speaker, what this means, therefore, that going forward, we need to continue reviewing our budget. We need to continue to identify areas of overlaps, areas of duplication, areas of wasteful expenditure, because whereas we are proud we've managed to retain some of the expenditures that are addressing some of the most critical issues. Members, you'll agree with me that one of the biggest challenges we are having in the country right now is unemployment. One of the reasons we've seen our young people in the streets is unemployment. So we therefore need to continue to look for money, tighten our revenue collection measures so that we're able to enhance our A&A. We need to continue to review and oversight our expenditure so that we can even rearrange it further to save more monies so that we can take that money towards employing our teachers. I was in my constituency yesterday, and teachers are saying, why are we increasing a salary for the police officers, yet teachers' salary has not been enhanced? Why are we not employing more teachers? So we need to look for more money so that in the second supplementary, we are able to employ more teachers, because right now what we have managed is to set aside 8.7 billion for just confirmation of interns. But we need to employ more. We need to employ more doctors. We need even to employ and look for money to pay for our gurus and many other servants, Kenyans who are giving a lot of service and dedication to this country. But as we speak about the police officers, we've just given them an increment. But I want to tell you, members, and we are aware that these police officers are living in a very deplorable condition. Some of the structures they are living in, we even have police stations that do not have furniture. So the Minister of Interior even needs more funding added into that sector so that they can be able to address the issues. I also want to applaud and really commend the team, the Budget and Appropriations Committee, because we've also managed to maintain or to restore some of the allocations to fertilizer, for fertilizer subsidy, allocations even to the farmers to cushion our sugarcane farmers who have never gotten an allocation, the 700 million that would go towards paying arrears of cane that had never been paid, and also to the farmers, those that are for the coolers, for the dairy farmers. So, Honorable Speaker, as we continue, members, we need to know that in the appropriations bill, it is detailing item by item, sector by sector, and the amounts that have been allocated for expenditure purposes, so that when we go out, we have the information to give to our people. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Order. Honorable members on your feet, take your seats. Ruku, take your seats. Angol, take your seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that the supplemental appropriation number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2024, be now read a second time. Gitonga Murugara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to rise and support the supplementary appropriations bill, which has ably been presented by the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and seconded also ably by the vice chair of the same committee. we are through a process which possibly we would not have gone through had it not that we do not have a Finance Act for this year. As a result of which, we have to supply the government with the money through supplementary appropriations. It is vitally important to note that all the revenue-raising measures that were intended in the Finance Act or Finance Bill, which was actually dropped at the will of Kenyans, now do not apply to our country, and we have to revert to what we have in the 2023 and 2024 Finance Act. That act operates because it has not been repealed, would have only been repealed if this act for this year had been passed, and therefore, while there is no lacuna on the Finance Act laws, the correct position is that the government must be supplied through supplementary appropriations bills and acts as we are doing now. Allow me to commend the committee for having found means and ways of ensuring that the government is going to be supplied, although with the limitations. We have 3 arms of government, and each of them will have to embrace a cut in the spending which had been projected. We start with the executive, which actually carries the lion's share of the budget, and we'll also have to carry the lion's share of the cuts, followed by this House as the legislature, the second arm of government, and after that we have to go to the third arm of government. We know very well there are 2 levels of government, the national government and the county governments. The county governments must also embrace themselves for the proposed cuts. The net effect is that while we anticipated to have more development this year, that may not be realized as fast as we had anticipated, and the county governments must actually now relook at their revenue-raising measures through the cesses they have in the counties where they raise money, make it proper, more efficient, but of course without having to overlevy the citizens. Kenyans are complaining that the level of taxation is quite high, and with that high taxation, sometimes they are asking, what are we getting in return? Therefore, it is vitally important that the government, the officers of the government, be prudent in their spending, so that while we are able to meet recurrent expense, we must also be prepared to meet the development expense, which is equally important. We have to do with it, including this House. The CDF has now lost the 10 billion that we were all anticipating. Each constituency would have possibly gotten not less than 30 million, but that is now water under the bridge. We still have the figures we had last year. We are able to do even more because the money is actually going to be supplied. And whether it is this House, it is the judiciary, which also is losing over 1.5 billion. We really have to scale down what we have to do. May I urge everybody that we have to be reasonable. We have to accept the cuts. We have to accept the austerity measures that are put in place so that those luxuries which the government was enjoying, which this House was enjoying, or the judiciary was enjoying, must be reduced so that we remain with what we consider extremely necessary and for the benefit of the citizens. We are also happy to note that with all those measures, we have been able to supply the government with some money and increase the salaries of police officers. And by extension, I take it that the prison wardens, the prison officers, are also getting a pay rise. This is very important because we all know, without any gainsaying, that our police officers, our prison wardens live in a deplorable state. they are not able actually to run their own lives because of the poor pay and the poor housing conditions these ones have to go through. As we consider housing for everybody in the country, most importantly, let's consider for the police officers and the prison wardens. It's also very good to our ears that the 46,000 JSS teachers will be confirmed. I can assure you these members of parliament had it rough when we went to the constituencies to talk to these people. While they appreciated that the finance bill was lost, they were insisting that they must be confirmed. Today, we announced to the country that the JSS teachers will actually be confirmed. And we do not want to hear by December, by January next year. It should be as soon as this appropriations bill is passed into an act of parliament and assented to, that TSC must move with the speed and confirm the 46,000 teachers. We were also to employ interns amounting to 20,000, a new number. Let us look at what we have, because it is vitally important that our teachers are actually in schools. Our children expect to get the best of education, and this must be through funding by this house. While we are looking at roads, we are looking at water, we are looking at electricity, and we are looking at all the important sectors for the public, we must not forget that education is core to this, and the Ministry of Education must be properly supplied. This is a good bill. It is a bill that we should pass so that we are able to fund the government and also fund the county governments. With those remarks, I beg to support.
The Honorable Makilap.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I can say this is an extraordinary budget for extraordinary times in Kenya. Madam Speaker, when a country is faced with extraordinary circumstances, or public debt, or rejection of finance bill, we resort to extraordinary decisions of ensuring that we live within our means so that we can be able to grow the economy of this country and build a prosperous Kenya. Madam Speaker, I have listened to the Chairman of Budget and Appropriation. Madam Speaker, we're to agree as an House, Madam Speaker, that under these circumstances, what is so critical for us? What is very critical for us, Madam Speaker, is employment of the youth of this country that are actually been unable to be absorbed in our economy. Madam Speaker, that is why we're to sacrifice other funding programs so that the 46,000 JSS teachers are actually be able to be absorbed, Madam Speaker. We have been able to finance employment of the intern doctors, Madam Speaker, because those are the people who take care of our health, Madam Speaker. And if we take care of our education, Madam Speaker, through employment of teachers, and we take care of our health by ensuring that we employ the interns on permanent and pensionable terms, Madam Speaker, then we take care of our health that is going to grow the economy, and we take care of our system of education so that we don't produce people or graduates that have not been able to undergo proper training because of lack of teachers. Madam Speaker, the JSS teachers are simply graduates like other graduates that have been employed previously on permanent and pensionable terms. This is why we are saying, Madam Speaker, on these circumstances, we better, as Parliament, we've agreed to cut off 3 billion, Madam Speaker, for our travel expenses so that the children of Kenya will have an opportunity to be employed, Madam Speaker, as JSS teachers, so that the youth of this country can be employed as to confirmation of the intern doctors, Madam Speaker. That is actually prudent use of our resources, Madam Speaker.
Even in the reduction, if you look at on this proposal, Madam Speaker, the money that goes to the county governments were reduced by 20 billion, Madam Speaker, and in addition, another 30 billion that was not being able to be paid during the financial year 23-24, Madam Speaker, are actually factored in, so that now the county government's budget goes to 410, Madam Speaker, so that resources that have been already earmarked for that particular function, Madam Speaker, are actually brought forth. Madam Speaker, you are aware that the NGCDF, by the time of the lapse of the last financial year, we had not received an exchequer of about 13.5 billion shillings, Madam Speaker. And that is the money that has already been brought forward so that we can be able to finance the programs that was expected to be done in the previous years, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you look at the economy of the country, Madam Speaker, when the dollar came down, Madam Speaker, it is good for the members of this House to realize that when the dollar was able to come down from 160 to 130, Madam Speaker, that gave us a debt relief of about 570 billion shillings, Madam Speaker. That is be able to save more resources for our programs, Madam Speaker. It means, Madam Speaker, if Kenya was to live within its means, then, Madam Speaker, we must reduce expenditure on parastatals that are taking a lot of money and they are giving less, Madam Speaker. So we agree with matching of about 47 parastatals, Madam Speaker, so that we have a lean government that we are able to finance and we are able to grow the economy rather than creating a lot of organizations that take a lot of money, especially on recurrent expenditure and travel allowances, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for us to grow this economy, we look at the agricultural sector, Madam Speaker, in many ways. Look at the livestock industry, Madam Speaker. The livestock industry, Madam Speaker, is actually an economy of the pastoral community, which is more than 80% of Kenyans who are actually practicing pastoralism, Madam Speaker. That is an area that we need more resources. Madam Speaker, even in the issue of the 14.5 billion shillings that was meant for rural electrification in our constituencies, Madam Speaker, is a factor that we must be able to reconsider in the next supplementary budget, so that because electricity is key, even in the election of these members, Madam Speaker, and ensuring that there is equity throughout the Republic of Kenya in terms of power distribution. Madam Speaker, there are parts of this country that have never even seen the wires, the electric wires that are in our country, Madam Speaker. So what we are saying, Madam Speaker, is whereas we cut on our expenditure so that we can be able to grow and live within our means because of the failed finance bill, Madam Speaker, there is a critical area that we need to, as an House, investigate and be able to put sanity. Madam Speaker, look, we are losing about 400 billion on tax expenditure in this country, Madam Speaker. People who are very busy claiming VAT returns, Madam Speaker, every day. So you can look at, we are trying to raise more money, and there is a lot of other monies, about 400 billion, that are actually going down through fictitious claims of VAT, Madam Speaker, and other tax expenditures, Madam Speaker. There is no need for finance bill to raise about 340 billion, and at the same time, we lose another 400 billion on tax expenditure, Madam Speaker. So you want to collect 300 and you want to spend 400. Madam Speaker, what is the logic? We must seal the loopholes so that the money that are being fictitiously claimed under VAT, Madam Speaker, can be able to be recovered so that we can be able to put in our programs, Madam Speaker. Finally, Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate the chairman here for giving us, even during these hard times, Madam Speaker, that if we live prudently, if we spend prudently, if we consider the sectors of our economy that are able to take care of our youth, Madam Speaker, we shall have a country that is prosperous. Look at the issue of police. I want to congratulate the chairman of security, whereas there is other programs that are required, and the chairman of finance or budget here, Madam Speaker. Police are key in restoring order in our country. Madam Speaker, The reason why we want an increase for salaries of police, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that there is no coleslaw in the police force, Madam Speaker, and be able to actively and get motivated to deliver programs like other employed Kenyans, Madam Speaker. I support the increment of salaries of our security forces, not only police, even to the KDF, so that this great gentleman can be able to protect this country from any aggression and externalities within and outside Kenya, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, finally, school feeding program in Kenya. Those of us who come from pastoral communities where children go to school because there is availability of food is key. And we want to congratulate the committee by ensuring that there is money for school feeding program and be administered by the Ministry of Education so that through NACONEC, so that the money can be able to reach the very needy schools of Kenya, and we will be able to bring more children to come to school and be assured that there is food and they can be able to learn, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in our parts of our country, food is an incentive of going to school, and we support this, and we can continue to enhance this particular budget through Ministry of Education and NACONEC, because that is the only way we can be able to have learners that are stable mentally even when they are in class. Madam Speaker, because there is a lot of things that are being underfunded, and even employment of the other new teachers. Madam Speaker, in this particular supplementary budget, there is some little money. We were expecting to employ about 20, but because of the extraordinary times, we're going to employ less. But it is better than nothing, Madam Speaker. But going forward, as we grow our economy, we can be able to put more programs to the youth so that we can be able to grow our economy and sustain programs that will create wealth for Kenya. Madam Speaker, I rise to support and congratulate the chairman and his team. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Tigania West, Honorable John Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to this motion. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the adoption of the adoption of the appropriation bill as presented and supported by the chairman and vice chair of the of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. Honorable Speaker, we all know why we are here, and we all know how we got here. Honorable Speaker, this is one of the most popular documents in this House. The last appropriation bill, Honorable Speaker, I had an opportunity to second, and I remember seeing very clearly that I hope the finance bill will be as much supported. Honorable Speaker, the appropriation bill comes in to show how the resources have been shared and what expenditure lines have been recognized in order to run the government as well as cost development in this country. Honorable Speaker, listening to the chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee, he took some time to highlight some of the key areas that the budget has focused. And we are grateful that, Honorable Speaker, especially in the education sector, we are going to absorb the interns, because those children have been waiting to be absorbed for a very long time, and the hopes were dwindling based on the fact that the finance bill was rejected. Honorable Speaker, allow me to speak a bit about what I heard my very respected chair say about agriculture. Honorable Speaker, if we are keen to revisit the Industrial Revolution, if we really minded as a country to visit the Industrial Revolution did not just occur. Industrial Revolution was basically was planned and very well calculated. Honorable Speaker, all the countries, most of the countries in this world have actually grown from agriculture. The fact that agriculture contributes a significant amount to the GDP tells us that there is something that we have not done so far as a country, and there is something that we have not done so far as Africa. Honorable Speaker, what basically happens is that we needed to organize our agriculture. I remember, Honorable Speaker, we took it up from the colonial masters and continued to
to cultivate land based on the potential of the land, instead of subdividing land into an economic units and then hand a settlement plan like the current president has, the plan of housing, affordable housing. If we started with a program of affordable housing that time, and then we settled people in urban centers, we would have had sufficient arable land to cultivate in this country. And that would also have led to investment in aggregation. Honourable Speaker, right now as a country, we must be deliberate as a country. We must focus on how do we make small land, because the greater majority of our people are smallholder farmers. If they are smallholder farmers, it means their production is limited, it is also small, and I want to say, Honourable Speaker, categorically, that small is very expensive when it comes to production. So what do we need to do as a country? We need to reorganize our investment. And in reorganizing our investment, we need to focus a lot more in making small land. And we can only make small land by having very serious cooperatives in this country. Revive our cooperative movement and form new cooperatives so that we can put smallholder farmers into cooperatives, and therefore these cooperatives will have mechanisms of ensuring that we can enhance productivity, because we have limited land. About 16% of this country is the only area that you can basically do arable farming, because, I mean, if we have to continue being rain independent. If I may basically discuss that a little, Honourable Speaker, what we can do is set up aggregation centers across the country. We are not investing in that aggregation centers significantly. If we were to invest in aggregation centers, it means our farmers, therefore, would take their produce to the aggregation center instead of selling the same day. Farmers of this country, Honourable Speaker, have not invested in storage. Since they have not invested in storage, it means, and they are rain dependent, it means that immediately they harvest, they take their produce to the market. So they all meet at the marketplace and then drop the prices of the goods themselves. So at most of the times, they sell at below the producer price. So what happens? We milk them clean. They basically pay us to consume their food. In order to turn that around, we need to invest in aggregation. And once we do that, then we have to invest in the adjoining infrastructure, or supportive infrastructure, to be able to carry these goods, or rather the produce, to the market. Secondly, Honourable Speaker, we need also to think about what we have aggregated in terms of the quality, in terms of how clean it is. So we have to do the cleaning, the sorting, the grading before we can even store for long. Honourable Speaker, if we can declare volumes, large volumes to the extent that we can move into processing, then we will start creating the jobs that our youth need. Our youth in this country have a point when they say that they do not have jobs. As people who are in the policy making now, we need to think of how can we create jobs. The easiest way to create jobs is to embark a lot more on agricultural production and productivity, and therefore aggregation, which will lead to transformation. And that transformation will create very many jobs in this country. Honourable Speaker, agriculture is not very interesting and is not taken up by youth a lot. And the reason is that it is laborious. The youth of this country can take up agriculture if they were allowed to have mechanized agriculture. And we cannot mechanize a lot on smallholder. So we must consider making our farms large. And the only way we can make our farms large is by starting aggregation and therefore talking to our people to work together. Honourable Speaker, if you go to some of the advanced economies like Germany, you will find them having what we call machine ringing. Not everybody has a machine or tractor, let me say, and they implement, but they hire these tractors across the village. The production villages, agricultural production villages, produce together. In other words, they prepare their land together, they plow together, they harrow together, they plant together, and therefore they aggregate. And thereafter, they set up a factory to process what it is that they aggregate. Honourable Speaker, when it comes to foreign direct investment, our investment proposals are not a lot more in declaring the produce, the amount of produce and the quality of produce and where this produce is. The reason is that we are not organized. We do not have credible data in terms of what we produce, and we need to invest in serious data capture and the derivation of this data so that we can be able to get to know exactly what is produced where, when is it produced, and therefore help our farmers. On the other hand, Honourable Speaker, I want to launch the fact that we have embarked on sugar reforms. Honourable Speaker, if I may speak to the issue of what we are calling, selling sugarcane through sucrose content. Honourable Speaker, sucrose content is the amount of sugar in the sugarcane. And the amount of sugar in the sugarcane is what we should actually be paying farmers for. We have a Sugar Research Institute which has produced 27 varieties. Honorable Speaker, these varieties have not moved from the Research Institute. They are still at the Research Institute. They need to be moved out of the Research Institute. So investment in that particular sector will enhance the movement of these varieties out of the Research Institutes to multiplication centers where we shall get enough to give to the farmers or to sell to the farmers so they can produce high-yielding varieties. Some of these varieties can mature in 8 months. Others can mature in about 1 year. Right now, the varieties that we have on our speaker mature in about 24 months. If that is the case, it means therefore we need 2 years to be able to plant and have a cane. In order for us to be able to even multiply the production and even stop importation of sugar, we need to take these new varieties, and the varieties are maturing in 9 to 12 months. It means therefore we can have the time required on the farm, and that means we are able to produce twice in a year. That will help us to increase the sugar production, and therefore we shall cap on the importation and the need for the dollar for importation. That way, the CTUs become very, very useful. That is, selling sugarcane with due respect of measuring the sugar content. Honourable Speaker, the varieties that have already been produced by the Sugar Research Institute are very high in sucrose content, and that means we can therefore go the CTU way. And that is, we have investment in CTUs in about 11 of our 15 processing plants. We need to invest in those others, and then we need a policy direction where we will be able to basically now process the sugar, weigh the sugar or sell sugar in terms of sucrose content. Honourable Speaker, investment in agriculture is the way to go, and many other countries went that way. Why not Kenya? I think we need to reorganize ourselves and be able to create jobs. It is easier to create jobs in agriculture than most of the other sectors, and it is also one of the sectors that has got 4 times ability to reduce poverty and ability to also ensure food security. Honourable Speaker, I support. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Honourable Nyanza, you've removed your card. Okay, the Honourable Beatrice Elachi, Member for Dagoretti North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to support and to appreciate the committee in what they have done. I know it has been the most toughest months that we have gone through, Madam Speaker, but also to appreciate just the last speaker, who I would have wished would have been the nominee for agriculture. But to say that, Mr. Speaker, as we look at the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 2, how I wish, and I want to thank Chair, that we now need to look at ourselves and reflect, as you said, in terms of our own resources. We now need to relook and reflect on the overlapping streams that we have, Madam Speaker. Those that we know are functions that can be put together, and we just have a function that functions well. Because also the overlapping functions that we have, either in water, in roads, you find there's a lot of internal intra-conflict that really challenges most of them at many times. And so, Madam Speaker, as I support, when I look at the first schedule, and I look at the issue of the national referral and specialized services, we look at the curative and reproductive maternal newborn child adolescents. Madam Speaker, I know we have a very serious crisis on the adolescents. And this is one thing we need to look at it clearly, and to see how do we support schools, Madam Speaker, to ensure we have wellness and skill lives in schools that will help the adolescents that we are finding ourselves with a lot of challenges, Madam Speaker, early pregnancies and many other issues that are affecting our adolescents. We need to think through. We need to take agriculture as the main pillar for rebuilding our country, Madam Speaker. And this we have to do deliberately, that we must ensure even young people, if we are able to give them incentives, Madam Speaker, for them to be able to engage in this agricultural sector, that they are able to go even and bring in value-added addition machineries which we don't need to tax, but to assist them to bring them in duty-free as long as they prove that they are coming to do work in the agricultural sector, they are coming to add value, they are coming to take land that is idle and deal with it. Madam Speaker, if we don't do that, we will be lying to our young people that we have white-collar jobs, which I know we don't have. But there is a way we can create different incentives to create more skills, Madam Speaker. And we can see even in the appropriation bill, there is on vote R11, I think it's 51 to 52. I think it's 51, Madam Speaker, that brings in now the issue of film development services, youth empowerment services, and this is one thing that we need to really emphasize, Madam Speaker. How do we create that incentive so that we can ensure young people are able to create their own jobs? They are very good on intelligence, they're very good on AI, Madam Speaker, artificial intelligence, and we need to see how we support them. And in supporting them is knowing very well most of them are still looking for jobs, and therefore we cannot push them into that bracket of also trying to force them to buy things the way they are, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the crisis that we went through, I thought we shall reflect as members and ask ourselves, how do we come back with dignity and make Kenyans believe that we can bring in a good budget, a budget that can be trusted, but also that can be monitored? And how do we ensure we spend our monies well? You see, Madam Speaker, as much as we are pushing monies to roads and all that, you find that we will always do that, fine. But we must go beyond. We must agree to have most of our highways on a PPP so that we deal with it once and for all. And you know you have a good road, Madam Speaker, that will work, and you save the monies to now go and do other things to pay the debt that we are talking about, Madam Speaker. In terms of the women, when you look at the vote R1176, it talks about the amount required in the year ending 30th June 20 for recurrent for the State Department of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise. Madam Speaker, the Women Fund, it got lost somewhere. Where we were in the last 10 years, when you put today, you can't understand whether women are able to even continue borrowing from the same fund. We need to go back and request the President that this fund has to come back and be in two ways. One, you can apply digitally, but it should be administered by meeting the women one-on-one in their groups, Madam Speaker, and you are able to give them their check, and you know that you can follow up and understand what they are doing. Than digitizing the whole process, Madam Speaker, and you find you can't even see who is the beneficiary, how is the country benefiting, do we find ourselves gaining or losing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we come now to health. And I know the community health workers are all waiting to see. Just the same way we have ensured the interns have gone through, just the same way we are ensuring the JCC teachers, Madam Speaker, our community health workers, and I want us to really focus on this universal health, Madam Speaker, even to look at, even as we move, I know many people are fighting SHIF or NHIF, but it's one thing, Madam Speaker. It is for us to decide and see what is best for any Kenyan as an insurance of health. And Madam Speaker, it's important for us to really get out of waste. Let us look at what we normally say it is waste. And you know, Madam Speaker, waste is that these small things we do without knowing we are wasting. And when you put together their finances, you find that you've really wasted. Madam Speaker, in the education sector, I want to tell parents that you need to look at how the new model of funding of university is. And Madam Speaker, the day the parents will understand each band, how it works, you find that an orphan is 95%, Madam Speaker, supported. And so what she or he will pay is very minimum from the household. But many parents, it's like they are not understanding, Madam Speaker. And you find that in the same education sector, many parents do not look at the portal of their own children. And I want to convince parents, first years and second years, when they follow the model of government, it is fully what you're supposed to pay. For example, if your child has a school fees of 300,000, you find that 70% of that is 210, and therefore the loan takes, and the rest, 15,000, goes to the household. And so parents must know, follow the new model, look at it, get to learn how your child is being sponsored, so that we remain, even with bursary, that can sponsor third years and fourth years. But first years who are joining now and second years, that model is a fantastic model for you to be in university. The students we should be worried about are students going to college, are the ones who we are supposed to get worried. Madam Speaker, you look at how the votes have been done. I just want to go to one vote that we need to also ask ourselves, which is vote D1082, which talks of the state of Department of Medical Services that deals with maternal newborns. I know I've talked about it, but I just want to repeat, Madam Speaker, it is time we also see how can we work with both functions. It is devolved, yes, but at the national level and the devolved level. It is important for us to start strengthening both and to ensure the referral can also work very closely with that is devolved. And therefore, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support and to thank the committee.
Honorable Member for Busia, Honorable Catherine Omayo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am very happy about this appropriation bill. The range of choices available there has prioritized what matters. For the first time, if we stick to that, Kenya will live within its means for some time, for the sake of development, for the sake of our children in school, and those children who live in ASAL and semi-arid areas, and floods, places where we have floods every time frequenting. Children who live around such places hardly go to school, but if we put food, like give the schools that these children could access, if we have some lunch or a program like that, these children will not lack to go to school just like any other child in Kenya. And if everything is put in place again, we will reduce corruption. And with reduction in corruption, many of our school-going children, especially those who come from poor families, will also just attend school like any other children. Then also, people who are living below poverty level, the gap between the rich and the poor will be reduced. This is evident because if actually a few people in Kenya, like 10% that have been controlling the economy of Kenya, will actually not have access to having it all like it has been, then a lot will trickle down to the grassroots people. And if a lot goes to the grassroots people, then that means that many will also have access to basic needs. That is where we all start talking about belonging to a country that takes care of its people or protects its people. So it is a good bill. I support it. I want to see no difference between a child from Siamahanga village, where I come from, and a child in Nairobi. There must be something. Then also the migration between the villages, between the rural areas will reduce, because every county, if possible, every county must have a factory. A lot of money has been getting lost into few people's pockets. But if that money can go now into developing industries in every county, that means younger people who are today up in their arms saying that they need jobs, these jobs will be available. And our economy will start growing. And when the economy grows, that means our people can have some pride in them and count themselves as belonging to this nation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I stand here to support the Supplementary Appropriation Bill of 2024. And the reason why I am doing that, Honorable Speaker, is first because of the obvious austerity measures that are being put in place to ensure that not only do we, as a country, ensure that we are not having spillage of funds, but also that we are ensuring that we are cutting out on expenses that we believe are not exactly necessary right now. Honorable Speaker, I just want to highlight some of the things that are in this particular supplementary that I like. One of them is the fact that we have decided that the GSS interns will have no cut in terms of they will be supported fully, and also for the interns from the medical field. But Honorable Speaker, one of the major concerns that I do have, we live in a country where 78% of our population is youthful. But when you look at the allocations for monies that have been put towards the youth space, it brings a lot of concern. Honorable Speaker, even in this particular parliament, we do not have a department that is specific to youth-related affairs. Youths are treated in this country like a by the way, and we really need to look at how do we change that as a country. Honorable Speaker, I did hear the Chair of Budget speak about the fact that 47 of the sagas have been denied monies, and therefore they are going to be reallocated to the others, so that we are able to also just reduce the duplication that there is in this country. And that, Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with that, because we have too much duplication going on in this country. And we need to find a way where we are able to centralize some of these functions to be able to have them allocated to one particular place. Because, Honorable Speaker, it doesn't make sense when, for example, in terms of national government, you have an auditor for each and every department. Ideally, we should have the audit committee based on one place, so that when we are doing internal audits, then the people who are from this particular audit department will be able to just do audits for all the departments. That happens, Honorable Speaker, in most private sectors. You will never find, for example, in a bank, that a department for trade, a department for retail banking, for wholesale banking, each of them has their own auditor. They only have one audit department that is able to then be distributed as per schedule to all the other areas to be able to work. That is one of the ways that we as a country can be able to save money. Honorable Speaker, I did hear the Chair also speak about agriculture and some of the measures that have been put here. And Honorable Speaker, I would really love for some of the people who are engaging the Chair to stop engaging him, because he needs to listen to some of these measures that we are putting in place. Honorable Speaker, for example, we are talking about cost cutting. In this day and age in our country, in Kenya, we still have instances where our large-scale farmers are using old traditional agricultural methods. And yet we have countries like even our neighbor in Rwanda that use the drone technology when they're doing crop production and they're doing tests to see whether or not the large-scale farms have issues by drone technology. Why wouldn't we do that in Kenya? Because that would actually enable us to save money. Honorable Speaker, we need to stop being scared of going the technology way, because the technology way in a lot of these departments would be able to enable us to save money. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, for example, if we had really good technological interventions within this country, even in the offices of the MPs, if, for example, like I see in the CS offices where they have the Huawei digital platform where they can be able to have their meetings there, if we did have that, then we'd be able to save so much money. Honorable Speaker, the other thing that we need to speak about in this country is corruption, budgeted corruption. Because there's a lot of embezzlement of funds in terms of budgeted corruption. By the time we are asking different departmental committees to give us their budgets, have we been able to actually go back and check against their performance contracts? Were they able to even deliver what was put in their performance contracts? We don't do that. All we do is that we treat this whole country as a cost center. And the reason why I say that, Honorable Speaker, is because you will rarely ever see, when you're having departmental committee meetings with the different ministries in this country, never ever will you see a departmental committee come with a document telling you how they're planning to make revenue, how they're planning to raise revenue. Honorable Speaker, this takes me back to something that the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga really wanted for this country. He once said that as a country, we should have one product per county. What that meant was that every county would be able to focus on a specific product, be very good at it, and actually raise revenue within their own streams from that. Those are some of the austerity measures we should be talking about as a country. We should be talking about, now that we don't have a finance bill 2024, and everybody is giving excuses why we cannot do any development because now there's no money, because we are depending on taxes. Why are we not, as a country, thinking of how else to bring up innovations and investments for us to be able to raise money? Must it always be that we are raising money from taxation? I'll give you an example, Honorable Speaker, of the Ghanaian government right now. They have really focused on investment, an investment-driven government, for them to be able to actually raise money from other sources other than taxation. And I think for a country, that's the direction we should be thinking. Honorable Speaker, having said that, I just want to support this particular bill. It's a first of its own where we are reducing expenses. We are taking things in the right direction. But I also just, as I conclude, want to invite us to start thinking outside the box and really start thinking of how we are gonna drive the economy of this country from where it is to a better economy by actually looking at ways in which, as a country, we can begin to raise money on our own. I submit.
Mike. The Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, member for Kwanza.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I take on the very onset, my position is that actually this appropriation bill, number 2, 2024, is a very unique one, Madam Speaker, noting that it's come before the bill itself, the financial period 2024-2025. In all sense, I think it's a very unique approach. And it's just because some people were not happy with the bill, and so it was rejected. And my take is that I think in this appropriation bill, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the chairman, who has done a very good job, and I want to say echo to him, because first and foremost, the actually appropriated the funds to agriculture and health. In agriculture, I think the thing that actually very impressed me is that first, we're going to have the fertilizer subsidy, which is about 7.5 billion. And I hope and pray that it'll be there on time, so that it can be able to have our farmers access the fertilizer on time. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, the fertilizer is also going to be under hope and pray that the department or Ministry of Agriculture on the importation of this fertilizer be done on time so that you can be able to have it ready when the season of planting is there, so that it's there, and at the same time, after planting, we hope and pray, Mr. Speaker, that there will be also top pressing fertilizer on time. Because this season, I come from Trans Nzoia, and farmers even were coming to me as if I'm in the Ministry of Agriculture, but because I'm in that Committee of Agriculture, and they were asking why the fertilizer was not on time. Secondly, when we finished, the top pressing fertilizer was not even there. So I want to thank the committee for having come up with this, and there is a hope and pray that we'll have fertilizer on time, including, of course, top pressing on time. Secondly, as we go on, the fact that in agriculture, again, you have got money appropriated to import the milk coolers. Mr. Speaker, the milk coolers are very important for our country. First, it will encourage farmers to be able to do dairy farming, which, of course, as you know, we are in a tropical country, and therefore dairy farming is actually very appropriate here. And at one time, I was in the Middle East. Those days when I was working for Kodak, you would go to the Middle East, and when you go for breakfast, you'll get milk from this country. But today, you go there and find that when they serve you, you find milk coming from Uganda. Then when did the rain start beating us? I think the milk coolers that you are having are not just for the sake of it. I think they are going to encourage farmers to do dairy farming and be able to have enough milk for exportation, both milk powder and even in liquid milk to be able to. So this again, you have given some money to be able to import the milk coolers, which I think is very, very important, and I think I want to say congratulations. Then, of course, we have money, which again, that the Minister of Education, again, the Minister of Education has been given money, the feeding program. That encourages, because some areas, Mr. Speaker, you find that children are not even encouraged to go to school because there's nothing in school. They would rather stay at home and drink water than going to school, maybe some 5, 2 or 3 or 4, or even 3 kilometers away, and there's no feeding program. So again, this supplementary budget, I think, bill, I think has helped us and has going to encourage our children to go to school and stick to the school, other than going there and running away because there is no food. So the feeding program, I think, is quite good, is very encouraging. And of course, CSS, again, from what the chairman has just read, is that they are going to be paid. So again, there's an encouragement of those who actually have finished training as teachers, and I think will be paid for their services, and that was actually lacking, including, of course, the Minister of Health. Again, that again is something that this supplementary appropriation bill has again taken note and going to be able to pay for that. More important, Mr. Speaker, is that when the original bill was cut, people actually made very, very bad remarks. We lost actually electricity because it had been located, I think, 52 million shillings by every constituency for rectification in the rural area. Imagine that again went, and you have not revived that. I hope and pray that during the year, as we go forward, we'll be able to locate a few coins to be able to have electricity actually in the rural areas, because we had 52 million shillings in every constituency. Again, that was thrown away because the bill was rejected. Same thing with the CDF. I think we also lost some money, but never mind. These cuts, I think, are going to help because some of them is because, again, Mr. Speaker, it was actually appropriation of some of the funds. You'll find the ministry has 2 or 3 departments, and of course they do the same thing. You find duplication of services, which again is something that I want to say. The cuts that are in the ministry is not for nothing. It's because I think the committee looked at some of the departments and ministries are actually a duplication of services, and therefore that again is going to help save some money for doing other important projects and reallocate the funds elsewhere. So, I think the taxations actually that people complained about, I think, have been reduced. And I hope and pray that when we pass this appropriation bill, supplementary bill, we hope nobody can raise his finger complaining that this budget has again been reintroduced after being rejected. And therefore, I think, as far as I'm concerned, this is a very good supplementary budget, appropriation budget, and I hope and the bill is going to see the light of the day at the end of it tomorrow, whatever it is, so I can be able to move forward. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, say I support this supplementary appropriation bill, and I hope and look forward to people actually on both sides supporting it so they can be able to move forward, more particularly because some of the taxes actually have been cut. I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi. The Honorable Clive Gisairo, the MP for Kitutu Masaba, followed by the Honorable Dr. Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise, first of all, to support the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 2, 2024. I'd like to thank the good work done by the Chair and the members of his committee to try and align with the needs of the people of Kenya. For us to find ourselves here, Honorable Speaker, tells us that it's either we were living beyond our means or we're just not listening to the common mwananchi. This appropriation bill is just a testament that we can do better, that the little resources we have, we can be able to develop this country, provide jobs for our people, and minimize on borrowing. Honorable Speaker, in this bill, the education sector has made some gains, but there's still some room. And we expect that in the second supplementary, that should come sooner than later, should address some gaps, because in the education sector, we've lost a lot on infrastructure. But reality is, we are a nation struggling with classroom space. Yes, today we are saying, on the positive side, we are going to confirm 46,000 teachers to P&P from internship. But grade 9 is starting in a few months' time. We have a gross shortage of classrooms. Equally, while we confirmed the 46,000, the initial plan had been to confirm 26, leave 20,000, and an internship and recruit an additional 20,000 to bridge the gap. Now we are only discussing about confirming 46,000, which does not change the total number of teachers in JSS. Therefore, we shall be having a shortfall come January 2025. We therefore need to ensure that in the second supplementary, we have a discussion of bringing on board an additional number of teachers, not less than 20,000. Otherwise, we're going to have a crisis come January 2025.
Honorable Gisero, the chair for the Departmental Committee on Education is not present, but I know he's listening, and our good chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee too, because we are talking of JSS. We have more TTCs, and we have lowered the grade for entry into TCCs by teachers, but the P1 teachers have been forgotten. Many of them are retiring without employment.
Sure.
So I wish you could firm up that point, because you know the heart of the chair of Budget and Appropriations Committees with the nation and with the teachers.
Yes, Speaker. I'm very sure that the chair is taking notes using his phone, because I know he's digital. He's been embracing the Gen Z agenda. Mr. Speaker, when we look at, again, the higher education, we again have challenges there. We've gone around around this country to universities. There is a big disconnect between the people sitting in Nairobi and the student in the university. It's my strong belief that we need to enable the higher education to move around, to get in touch with the reality. But for us to insist that the university student, when they have an issue, they have to travel all the way to Nairobi for their problems to be solved, we are actually making a problem worse for our youth. So we need to properly fund the Higher Education Loans Board, be it administrative and other services required for them to reach the students down there. We appreciate that in this budget, the security has been well taken care of, that our police officers will get a better pay. These are people who provide security to us. These are people who are always on the front line to combat crime and other ills in society. So those are gains done by this committee, the Budget Committee, to ensure that they are taken care of. Honorable Speaker, I want to differ slightly on the common assertion coming from some members who've spoken here that repeatedly that CDF lost 30 million. CDF lost 30 million. I would prefer that we look at things more positively. Lost. These are hard times, and everyone had to take a hit. Mr. Speaker, what we need to be telling Kenyans is the current amount we are getting into constituencies. How much has it done? How prudent can we get to ensure that the little we get delivers more to our people? If we visit the 290 constituencies, can the CDFCs show us that the little they've gotten is of benefit to the people? If it is, let's be more efficient on what we have. Let us not cry of losing, yet it is not a deduction. We anticipated more, but that more now is not there. So we are retaining what we already had. So let us not dampen the mood. We've done well with the resources we've had. We can do better with the very same resources. Mr. Speaker, on the health sector, again, this supplementary budget goes ahead to ensure that the interns are well taken care of. because we need a healthy nation. We need our youth to have jobs. It is painful for any parent to educate a child, only for this child to come and sit outside with a medical degree, clinic officer training, but sitting at home. So this is also to say that the government has taken concern on our health providers and ensuring that they're all taken care of and we keep absorbing more. Honorable Speaker, you know, we would like to inform that those who will be coming in, the new appointees, because some now happen to come from near where I sit here, we will still be hard on them if the views of the Kenyans are not taken into consideration. This was a starting point to have a progressive country, a country that presents to its people a progressive budget that indicates our ability and us living within our means. Honorable Speaker, electrification is a challenge. And we hope that in the next supplementary budget, electrification, rural electrification gets more funding. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, we are still wasting money on state departments that can be merged. We need to look into areas that can be consolidated to save taxpayers money. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support this supplementary appropriation bill number 2. Thank you.
Dr. Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me also stand and make my few comments on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2024. Honorable Speaker, we find ourselves in uncharted waters, unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in. This is the first time probably in Kenya, and could be in many parts in this world, where a supplementary budget is prepared before you even implement the main budget. And Honorable Speaker, we find ourselves in this situation simply because we refuse to listen to the people of Kenya. We find ourselves in this situation because we refused to govern for the benefit of the people of Kenya. There were signs all along that things were not well. Yet we remained adamant, believing that we have the power of the barrel, we have the power of the gun, we will beat everybody into submission and get ourselves here. Honorable Speaker, naturally, we have to approve or second the supplementary bill to enable the country move on. Otherwise, without it, then the government will shut and everything will come to an end. And it's the rural people, it's the Kenyan population that will suffer. But Honorable Speaker, we support the bill, knowing very well that this is going to slow down the economy. We support the bill, knowing very well that this bill is going to lead Kenya into a terrible recession. We support this bill, knowing very well the little gains that we ever made, starting from the day of President Emilio Mwai Kibaki, are going to be rolled back drastically. Honorable Speaker, in a country, in a third world country like Kenya, where the government plays an important role in the locomotion of the economy, when the government is not spending, there is no economy. There's nothing that will grow. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, if you read various commentaries, be it by World Bank, EFD, IMF, they have a very grim view, a very negative view on the economic growth of this country in this calendar year, simply because they see there's no possibility of any economic impetus that will allow the economy to move. Honorable Speaker, when you look at this document, this supplementary, it is all about cuts, 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 and cuts. The most interesting thing, Honorable Speaker, and this, we need to ask ourselves very hard questions as a country. Honorable Speaker, there are serious cuts in development. So the obvious question many of us are asking, and Kenyans are asking, does it mean the staff employed in these state departments, in these sagas, in these MDS, will simply be walking to the office, sit, read newspapers, go to their social media, and do nothing? Because without any development funds, Honorable Speaker, what do you do with the engineers that the chair of the Budget Appropriation Committee has talked about harmonizing them? What do you do with them? What do you do with the water engineers, Honorable Speaker, if you cut an entire, about several billions in the water harvesting program? So what do the civil engineers in the Ministry of Water do? Do they simply sit there, go to social media? What do you want them to do, Honorable Speaker? Because, Honorable Speaker, you cut 2-point-something billion on technical, vocational education and training. Yet, Honorable Speaker, the hallmark of Vision 2030, MTP3 and MTP4, was to equip Kenyans with skills to ensure that they participate in the manufacturing sector. Honorable Speaker, so what are we going to do to achieve the target 15% GDP contribution from manufacturing if we do not invest in skills acquisition, Honorable Speaker? Are we really serious in what we do, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, I would go on and on, but Honorable Speaker, the massive cuts, Honorable Speaker, in the education sector means, therefore, even the school infrastructure is not going to be there. We're not going to have money for school infrastructure. Yet by 2026, Honorable Speaker, we are expected to transition to the new education system as they move into the senior secondary. Even by next year, Honorable Speaker, many schools in rural Kenya do not have classrooms for grade 9. What are we going to do to house these boys and girls who are so fired up and energetic enough, they want to go to school, Honorable Speaker? What are we going to do? Even when you go to the current sector, I want to spend a little more time in education. You find that a whopping 10 billion, Honorable Speaker, has been taken away from teacher resource management. Therefore, it means the so-called retooling, retraining the existing teachers towards to enable them handle secondary school, senior secondary school, be it STEM or these various pathways, Honorable Speaker, is no longer going to be there. So we are going to limp through. We'll get teachers who are ill-trained, who are ill-prepared, Honorable Speaker, to manage the affairs of that particular category. Honorable Speaker, it is indeed a sad event. Honorable Speaker, many of us wonder, recurrent expenditure again, secondary education, 5 billion chopped off. Is it capitation? Is it quality assurance? What are we talking about? Primary education again, Honorable Speaker, another 1.9 billion chopped, reduced. So if we can't invest in education, Honorable Speaker, are we killing these generations permanently, or what are we doing? Honorable Speaker, as I say, many times I've never supported supplementary, but I just want to appeal to the chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee. If there is going to be any change of fortune in terms of the projected revenue, if we are going to achieve that revenue, we must go back and revisit this particular appropriation bill. We must go back, Honorable Speaker, and revisit the bill, the act completely, because as it is now, we are literally grounding the government to halt. We are grounding the entire economy. We are putting the entire economy to a standstill, Honorable Speaker. We will be unable to do anything. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, and this probably when the chair of the Budget Appropriation Committee is responding, I have my tribulations. National administration, we have a cut of 6.6 billion on the general administration and support services. We need to know what has been reduced. Is it salaries to buy equipment? Is it salary to support general operations of the national administration system? And if that's the case, how does it relate to security and security situation now that we are not going to create jobs? And if we don't create jobs, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, we must also understand what's the purpose of passing an appropriation bill, yet the Treasury does not disburse the money. When you see the departmental committees, the PSS and the state corporation continuously lament that 30 to 40% of what is appropriated is never disbursed. We are running a broken system. As we support, we must go on record, we are running a rudderless and a broken system, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Undo. The Honorable Cynthia Muge, attending to some state duties. The Honorable Charles Ngusia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this chance and opportunity to want my voice on this important, unique, and in fact, has ever been witnessed. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Budget and Appropriation Committee, of course, for the work they have done. This year, they have had to contend with doing 2 appropriations bill in a span of less than 4 months because of the historical happening we witnessed recently in our constituency during these Gen Z activities, Mr. Speaker. Let me support it, but with a lot of reservation, Mr. Speaker. Number 1, JSS education sector has won by confirming our interns. But, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the primary schools, we have got over 300,000 trained primary school teachers who we have totally forgotten as far as employment in the education sector is concerned, Mr. Speaker. Where are we condemning these 300,000 P1 trained teachers, Mr. Speaker? That is an aspect we need to look very carefully, Mr. Speaker, going forward. The other issue in the education sector, while we appreciate the CDF is remaining constant, and let us stop misleading this House, CDF is going to remain the way it was since the last financial year, Mr. Speaker. I would like us to focus on the issue of infrastructure in our technical institutes, in our universities, in our primary schools, in our secondary schools, Mr. Speaker. Now the sector has hugely been affected, and we are going to witness what we call crisis in the education sector because of the 5 billion budget cut, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of agriculture, that is okay. We need to give our farmers fertilizer so that the productivity in that economic activity can actually be improved. And the issues of course, Kenya coffee farmers getting more funds will be good. The issue of milk production, Mr. Speaker, which is an essential community in our community, Mr. Speaker, is going to benefit on that. Then, of course, another winning sector is the security. The police officers will be rewarded by salary increment, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, based on the unfolding in our country, I suggest our president, even the budget and appropriation committee, the housing levy we are now paying. Why can't we take this money first to go to police officers, make them good housing units instead of actually going commercial way? Let us invest this money first of all in improving the public houses we give our civil servants, Mr. Speaker. Then we can generate into economic activities, Mr. Speaker, we are going to witness. Of course, the budget of school feeding program has been retained, but this should be universal. Children are being discriminated, especially the areas which are regarded as not marginalized. Like my constituency, I don't have an existing feeding program. We need to feed our students and our pupils all over the country without discriminating them, whether you are coming from a livestock or another community, Mr. Speaker. So I think going forward, the next financial year, we need to put what we call feeding program in all our primary and secondaries, especially primary schools, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, now, the country doesn't need austerity measures. What country needs is economic stimulus, Mr. Speaker. When the government is not spending, there is no economic growth, Mr. Speaker. When we are witnessing the rising issues of interest rates going up instead of going down, the economy is not going to recover. When we are experiencing political instability, there's nothing, Mr. Speaker, we are doing. So, Mr. Speaker, I suggest, while it is appropriate to put austerity measures, we need to form a task force that is going to oversight what we call economic stimulation program, Mr. Speaker, for our country to be able to grow economically, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the budget chair has stated that 47 sanghas are going to be dissolved. And these sanghas were actually merged or dissolved, wherever the technical term you are going to use. These sanghas most of them were formed by the Parliament Act. I would like to request we exercise this issue carefully. Before dissolving some of these sanghas, we need to sit down and discuss in a holistically view whether we need them. But we cannot just wait one committee or one person to decide whether a saga is good for us or it is bad for us, Mr. Speaker. The law has to be followed because majority of them were established by the Act of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the issues of revenue collection needs to be relooked in our economy. I am sure whatever we are taxing Kenyans is sufficient to support growth, especially in our electricity sector, which has been adversely affected. Each of the constituencies could have gotten 50 million, but still, the money we are paying as taxes, we can afford to give each and every constituency, each and every Kenyan, each and every institution set up by the Parliament, we can give electricity, and which is a basic thing, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I support, and I still insist, let us relook at the supplementary tool and reinstate these funds for electricity. Every Kenyan is entitled to have electricity, water, and food. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, the MP for Kitui Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also stand to support this. And as a member of the Budget Committee, let me make these two statements, opening statements, just to put the record straight in terms of what Honorable Oundo and part of what Honorable Sinan has said. Honorable Speaker,
if you want to get the details of the budget in terms of itemized details, the Budget and Appropriation Committee did a report which was discussed last week. So that's why you find the details in terms of the changes which have been summarized into this bill. The second point, Honorable Speaker, the fact that we are proposing some changes to the parastatals or these sagas does not mean that we will not use the law. I want to remind honorable members that, honorable members, you did pass a law called Privatization Act. And that act stipulates very clearly what needs to be done before a parastatal or a saga is either privatized or merged with another one. So the law is very clear, it will be followed. My comments on this supplementary bill, Honorable Speaker, are as follows. Last week we did discuss the budget appropriation report. Last week we also went through a committee of supply, which was a committee of the whole House. And this is just a summary of the things we discussed last week. So in short, Honorable Speaker, you will not find anything new in this bill which was not captured in those other reports. But I want to pick 3 items which I think are important for Kenyans. One of them, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans need to note that the whole issue of GSS teachers who have been complaining that they are still on a temporary arrangement and they want to be permanent and pensionable, Honorable Speaker. Resources for that, the chair has confirmed we have those resources. So we want to encourage them that once this supplementary bill becomes an act of parliament, they should be able to be employed permanent and pensionable. The other matter, Honorable Speaker, which is critical is the issue of indans also in the Ministry of Health. Honorable Speaker, there has been a lot of lobbying from these indans that we need to factor in resources to have them employed also. In this supplementary bill, Honorable Speaker, there's a provision of 3.8 billion, which is expected to go towards that direction to ensure that these indans and the Ministry of Health are also employed, Honorable Speaker, on a permanent basis. So I thought it's important I say that. The other matter which is critical, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of A&A. Honorable Speaker, after we made a decision to scale down the budget because of the issues of the withdrawal of the finance bill, a lot of institutions have come up with proposals to have their ceiling for A&A improved or raised, Honorable Speaker. And what that means, Honorable Speaker, is that the whole area of A&A, in terms of the way we generate our resources, requires to be thoroughly checked so that we know what is the potential for each MDA so that we don't have areas where they collect more than they are reporting. In that case, we have what we call underreporting because it is very dangerous, Honorable Speaker. What it means is they will have more resources as compared to what we have appropriated for them. And that leads to either unnecessary expenditure or expenditure which is not controlled by Treasury. But Honorable Speaker, 3 observations which I think is important as we move to the future. One of them, Honorable Speaker, is if you look at this supplementary bill, a lot of money has been reduced on development budget. And that's why I want to agree with Honorable CNN. Honorable Speaker, if we are not able to carry out economic activities in this country through development budget, then we cannot talk about economic growth. If we can't talk about economic growth, Honorable Speaker, it means issues of employment creation and all that. So this is an area, Honorable Speaker, we need to consider as a House, as we move through the future, how can we ensure that we have more money for development as opposed to more money for recurrent? In that case, we'll be helping the economy. The other matter, Honorable Speaker, which is critical, is the issue of budget deficits. I realized initially when we started discussing this, we were saying we'll be borrowing about 141 billion, Honorable Speaker. From this bill, this figure has moved up to 170 billion. What it says, Honorable Speaker, is that our appetite for borrowing still continues to be there, Honorable Speaker. And we have said very many times, this area of public debt is an area we really, seriously as a country, need to discuss and agree on way forward. For example, the budget deficit has now moved from 3.8 to 4.3%. And it is obvious, Honorable Speaker, it is very difficult to develop a country through borrowing. I think time has come when we must look at our public debt and say, what do we want as Kenyans? I think Kenyans out there, they have told us that borrow less, see whether we can use our own resources. And what Kenyans have said, since they have said they don't want to be taxed more, what it means, Honorable Speaker, is can we look at our expenditure items and come up with a good prioritization of the expenditure items so that at the end of the day, Honorable Speaker, we only fund what is very key or what is very core for this country. And in that case, we'll be growing the economy, and Honorable Speaker will be helping this country. So as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, because those are the only things I wanted to say, our colleague and friend, Honorable Bandi, who we've worked together on these matters of budget for a long time, is the man who is supposed now to be dealing with this budget, Honorable Speaker. And I can tell you, Honorable Speaker, it is not going to be easy. So I just want to say, we wish him well. He has been having very good ideas together with me. Now he has the opportunity to implement what we have been saying should be implemented. I will be still reminding him what we have been saying every day so that we help this country move to the next level. What I want to appreciate most is now that we agree this side of this divide of the House has some brains which can help this country. We want now to make sure that we use this brain called Bandi so that we move Kenya to the next level. I'm convinced he has what it takes to move Kenya to the next level, but he has to implement what we have been discussing with him. For him to implement that, Honorable Speaker, he will require the political goodwill from the highest office. So I want to believe the highest office to provide that political goodwill. Because if it is not there, Honorable Speaker, we'll be going back to where we have always been. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable